Welcome to Journey Church's Teacher Talk.
Yeah.
I'm Steph, and this is Sean.
Woo!
And we're going through 30 days to understanding the Bible. Today we are in chapter 22.
22.
We're doing great. And we are talking about the doctrine of God.
The doctrine
today.
of God. Yeah. And so, friends, right off the bat, I think I say that quite often.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat, I'm just going to, here's another case, and it's actually showcased in how Max writes this particular chapter as well, that there's a real emphasis on the awesomeness, the size, the grandeur of God. Not so much on the personal attributes of God. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of mention of the father-son paradigm of he's the father, we're the children kind of idea.
Right.
And so, and again, how much can you fit about God within, 6 pages?
Yes,
so I get it.
That was an impossible
I
task.
get it. So he's probably trying to really cast a wide net, wide frame.
Some basics.
But I only propose it just to say, be aware of these things. Make sure you're asking questions as you read the Bible, as you read different things on doctrine. And I highly encourage you to even pick up what other people have said about the same subject. Yeah. Even if it's not one that you agree with, it's really good to have a diverse set of perspectives on this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he kind of highlights 4 major subdivisions that he would call, of part of the doctrine of God. And so the first one is existence, right? It's kind of a good
God
place
is,
to start.
I am that I am.
Right, exactly. Right. And then his attributes, which we talked a little bit about, personal attributes, but also his divine attributes. And then the third is sovereignty.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, and he says this very succinctly, that God can do whatever He wills. And in fact, there's even a text in Psalm, I think it's Psalm 103, that says God does whatever He pleases. I mean, it's as literal as it gets.
Yeah.
And that is true. What I notice that Max leaves out though is that man has free will, woman has free will. And even when we get to the chapter on man and woman, it's not in there either. Yeah. So, friends, I'm gonna pull back the veil just for a second, so that we understand where denominational lenses come up and why it's really important to have a kingdom approach. And a kingdom approach is gonna have what I call truths in tension. And so, is God sovereign? Yes.
Absolutely.
But does He make sure that every single thing that He would want to have happen happens? No,
right.
Because the invitation goes out to men and women to partner with Him or to not.
Yeah.
And so that's our free will, and that's why we have crime. That's why we have abuse. That's why we have racism. That's why we have all of the systemic issues in culture and in life that we do, is because of free will.
Sure.
Does God want those things to happen? No. If His sovereign will was happening all the time,
right,
He'd lay the smack down on all of it.
The Bible would have been much shorter.
That's probably really true. And then He spoke, and then they did. And then He spoke, and then they did. I mean, it probably would have been...
The end.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been a whole lot to it. Yeah, that's very true. So I say that to say, on the other side, and truths and tension are like sides of a coin. You can't have one side of a coin and have a blank side of the other. It's a counterfeit coin. You have to have both sides. And so in the similar way, sovereignty, the sovereignty of God, meaning when He wants His will to be done, it will be done. There's no getting in the way of that. Yeah. On the other side of that, though, is free will. He gave men and women free will so that we would actually get to choose. We would get to choose whether or not we love Him. We get to choose whether or not we're going to obey Him. So very important. And you're going to find, I'll say this last point, then we're going to move on. You're going to find that some denominations emphasize the sovereignty of God. Mm-hmm. Some denominations emphasize the free will of man and woman. And so that's why I'm saying it's important, it really is a both hands.
Gotta have both.
Find the way to pull those together, left foot, right foot, as you walk this thing out. What else we got?
Yeah, and then the fourth major subdivision is the Trinity.
The Trinity.
So lots of cool stuff here. It's a lot to, comprehend. I think, how do you summarize the vastness of God and who He is, right?
Steph, talk to us about the omnis.
Yes.
I like the omnis.
Oh, the omnis are so fun.
The omni attributes.
Yeah, so he kind of highlights some of God's divine attributes, right? Omnipotence, meaning God is all-powerful.
All-powerful.
Omnipresence, meaning God is present everywhere simultaneously. It's pretty cool. and omniscience, which means that God knows all things.
Yeah. I actually, we had a guest speaker in here a few years ago, and he blew my mind when he actually talked about the omnipresence of God, not just being in all places at once, but also in all times at once.
Yeah.
That he's as present
right
now in
Yeah.
1903 as he is going to be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, that's even like, it was even more mind-blowing, because the omnipresence of God is even bigger and more mystical than we would typically ascribe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Amazing.
So, is that good for now?
I think that's great.
That's probably more than enough for chapter 22 for you guys.
Yes. This would not be a brief summary if we kept talking.
No,
so we'll wrap
really
it up.
wouldn't.
If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. We'd love to hear from you, hear what you think, hear what you're processing and walking through. And we will see you tomorrow. May you delight in his face as you delight in his word.